getting to the other side and cheating, trying to give yourself a competitive advantage. When you start doing that on a consistent basis, first of all, you're telling the NFL, I see your rules, don't care about them, I'm too smart for that. We're going to do what we want to do because we are who we are. If that's the case, you then have to start hitting them hard. And I've mentioned this before. You're talking about taking away multiple draft picks. You're talking about hitting the salary cap. I'm not talking about finding the team. If they have been found, as we go through this, one of my coaches, a lot of my coaches have told me this because of how I play the game. Sometimes you have to let the game come to you. Don't force it.
Right.
Don't force it. That's why I said I'm going to regress. I'm going to digress, excuse me, and step back. And I'm going to, since nobody's going to come out and say anything right now, I'm going to wait till all the information comes
before
out
you make a decision.
Before I make that judgment. But I'm just telling you, if those two things are the case,
okay,
or if the ball boy is the scapegoat, so to speak, once again, it falls back on the organization.
Right.
And so then that sanctions of the draft picks and even maybe that a salary cap hit comes into play.
But Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, cheating doesn't happen more often than we believe it happens in the league? And doesn't it happen a lot? Like this whole thing with the underinflated footballs, I'm sure it's common.
Here's the thing. My mom used to always say this to me. If your friends ran and jumped off the bridge, would you run and jump off the bridge too? I would not. So just because everybody's doing it does not mean it make it right. And the problem with that is, that argument, if you then get caught, you can't then bring in the fact that I'm just flowing with traffic. Even though I'm speeding, Mr. Officer, I know I was speeding, but I'm just flowing with traffic. No, you were speeding, here's your ticket. That's the problem with that. And then when you've already broken, like I said, however you want to deem it, if it's a misdemeanor or whatever, the first offense, but you still have now had a history of doing things that try to give you a competitive advantage. So now the commissioner has to do what he's actually said he's going to do as far as being sterner and harsher on violators.
All right, Stephen A. Brian Dawkins is reserving judgment until the investigation is completed, until we learn more. Your take on what should happen?
I have nothing to add, to be quite honest with you. If Bill Belichick is found to be the instigator and the perpetrator of all of this, he should be suspended for the year. If Tom Brady had something to do with this, I don't know what to say about it, because Tom Brady is Tom Brady, and this would be something that would be a complete aberration and an anomaly compared to anything on his record. He has an impeccable reputation, an impeccable record. He's never been associated with anything underhanded or anything like that in his career. It would shock me. And so you got to punish him. What that punishment should be for a first-time offender, which I think he would fall under, I don't know. But if it were Belichick, I would suspend him for the year. Outside of that, I really have nothing to add.
You know, it's still difficult for me to equate deflating a football with purposely trying to injure a quarterback and knock him out of the NFC Championship game, Brett Favre, Minnesota at New Orleans. What was the line that Goodell used about Sean Payton? Ignorance is not an excuse, right?
Okay.
Okay, so that could apply here also.
Yeah.
So, in the big picture here, I look back at the penalties levied on the Saints, and I thought they were justified. I don't know what do you recall thinking they were?
I thought they were
too harsh. Too harsh?
I thought they were harsh.
Really?
I thought they were harsh.
Stephen A. and I went back and forth about that, but look, here's the problem with this one. I brought this up to start the show, and I'm going to bring it up again. The NFL is a little bit complicit here in this cheating scandal, because starting in '06, thanks to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning pushing, the NFL gave the quarterbacks great leeway in how they prepare the footballs. They can do anything to them. They can soak them, they can scrub them, they can put liniment on them, whatever they want to do. They can practice with them, they can warm up with them to get them exactly the way they want them. Except there was one condition, that the pressure of the football had to be between X and X.
Right.
Anything below that, okay? So then why would the NFL have a referee go check that pressure 2 hours and 15 minutes before a game? You are inviting shenanigans in a league of dog-eat-dog, right? Of win at all costs.
Sure.
Then you're giving the team back the footballs that they could do pretty much anything, because you're not going to really check them again, and the refs have too much in their heads. during the game as the balls are lobbed into play. They don't know. They touch the ball. They're going to say, uh-oh, this one's 2 pounds per square inch. No, they don't know that. So you're asking for trouble. Obviously, the fix to all this, and this will come down in the offseason, I'm pretty sure. The first thing you have to do is, once you check the pressure of the footballs 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game, the referees then get to have they're going to take them and keep them in their possession until the start of the game. It may preclude being able to warm up with those footballs, but that's okay, because we would all rather ensure the integrity of the game to have the referees simply watch over the footballs until they are kicked off, or that'll be a kicking ball, but until they are put into play. Right? Okay, that's pretty simple to me. Okay, so the NFL screwed this up a little bit also. And because they gave the quarterback so much leeway, because what does the NFL want? In the end, they want points scored. They want passes completed. You know this better than anybody. So whatever the NFL can do within its rules to get the quarterback at a higher and higher level, it's going to do. Sure, the NFL probably thinks, you know, gee, if Tom Brady can throw a football that's slightly underinflated, we love it. You know what? If Aaron Rodgers wants it slightly overinflated, we love it. Right? If whoever wants it, whatever, you know, it's to the point where this all doesn't make a lot of sense, because in the end, they want points scored. Passes completed, right?
And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people consider this to be like silly that we're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we're talking about trying to knock Brett Favre out of the football game versus scoring points, right?
But as of right now,
I get it.
It is a rule.
It is.
All right, it is the law.
You can't break the rules.
You cannot break the rules. But I understand what you're saying. It's to give the ball back, and I think it goes back to, you know, you playing golf with somebody kick. They call them being pencil whoop. You know, you kind of jack
now that's just flat out blatant cheating.
That's flat out wrong.
Or improving your lie in the rough. That's wrong. That's cheating. I'm sorry.
Well, what I want to say about it is that, Skip, they're not comparing trying to intentionally injure a player to deflating footballs. What they're saying is that you intentionally try to cheat. To some people, that's a far bigger issue than anything. I think as much as egregious as you and I may feel about the thought of bounties being put on players and players intentionally trying to injure other players, because of the violence that exists within the sport of football, the testosterone-filled sport that it is, the average viewer that isn't on that field accepts that. Because they're thinking guys are going after guys all the time. That's just the way it goes. That's the world they're living in. But when it comes to cheating, there are some people that view that as more egregious than anything, because you are taking away the very fabric of what sports is supposed to be about. That's fair, equitable competition.
Okay.
But and when you jeopardize that or compromise that, some people judge that harshly.
I'm with you. Some equate it to PED use. To deflate the football would be, I think it was Chris Canty who said that, right? Okay, so is it possible, Stephen A., that the NFL allowed this over the last maybe even 10 years to become a wink-wink rule, where everybody just did whatever they really wanted to? There was no policing. There was no crackdown. Nobody else has ever been busted for this that I'm aware of, right?
Yeah.
Well, so is it possible the NFL is saying, gee, how can we crack down on these guys when everybody's been bending this rule for 10 years?
My problem with that assertion, Skip, is that if indeed that's what the NFL did, then it would be very, very easy for them to admit that, so we could all get on with talking about the Super Bowl. It's a big deal because it's perceived as a flagrant violation of a hard and fast rule by the NFL. So if the NFL was loosey-goosey with it, if a matter of fact, to save the Super Bowl, to be quite honest with you, if I were the NFL, I would consider saying, we don't know why y'all making a big deal out of this. It was a wink-wink rule for us, you know? I mean, you're not supposed to do it, but it really wasn't a big deal. Let's move on. Because if the NFL had done that, Brian, you tell me, if the NFL had come out Monday and said that, this wouldn't be being talked about today.
Yeah, well, it probably still would be because of all the shenanigans, well, not shenanigans, all the way that they've butchered things this past offseason. So
but I'm talking about to this level.
To the depth of what we've been getting to this thing, we probably would.
Well, we're throwing footballs and checking PSI.
Yeah, we would not.
Guys, we might be talking about it on ESPN and stuff like that. I wouldn't be getting calls from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and everybody else treating this like it's world news tonight. That wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, especially with your point, though. Especially with your point. If it's been something that everybody's been doing for a while, it was no big deal, and all of a sudden someone gets caught from it, now it's a huge deal. All right, that's on us as the NFL.
Yeah.
We got to do a better job of clamping down. This is going to be the rule going forward. Period. Done. Set. Match.
I'm never going to look at PSI again. The same. It won't be the same.
PSI. I've never heard of PSI
until now, right? Everyone knows about it. Brian Dawkins. Next time I see you, hopefully we're talking about the results of Super Bowl 49. Absolutely. Coming up next, folks, we're going to the NBA. LeBron has been dethroned, so to speak. Find out what that means after the break.